officials hope to make up for what they believe are incorrect results from the 2020 census.
Yes, making up for not only lost population, but also lost money. News Since 5, WGEM's Dylan Smith says city leaders hope to find 2,000 more residents.
A special census next year wouldn't be the first time Macomb has sought more accurate numbers.
The population we were trying to count was essentially told, and rightly so, you need to return to your permanent homes.
The population Mayor Michael Inman is referring to is the more than 4,000 WIU students who live off campus.
This group has consistently been hard to count because of the transient nature of the population.
He says online learning and other effects of the pandemic played a factor in some students being counted as Macomb residents.
When we redid the census several years ago, we had a group of individuals on campus, faculty, administrators, and staff that would meet together to make sure that we were really getting an all-encompassing marketing plan to our students.
And WIU is ready to help. The university's executive director of financial affairs, Keitra Rosalib, says even though the city doesn't provide funding to WIU, it's just as important for students to like the town as much as the school.
Do they have restaurants to visit? Do they have parks and things like that to visit and make sure that they have a home away from home here at Western?
And extra funding means more of those amenities to attract students.
I'd like to say, you know, we can fix a lot of things with money. That's true, we can. Can't fix everything, but we'd put every dollar we would get from this special census right back into the community.
Including improved roads and an overall more vibrant place to live.
All those things are important when our students are choosing Western and choosing the Macomb community. I think really goes hand in hand.
And the 2012 recount restored more than 2,000 residents to Macomb. Inman says that has meant about $3.5 million in additional funding.